Hi, I'm Hilary. I'm with Frame of Mind Coaching, and I am here today with Kim Addis, founder and president of Frame of Mind Coaching. Hey, Kim.
Good morning.
So today I want to ask you about the coaching steps, the foundation of the Frame of Mind coaching steps. So what are they? What's the formula to your coaching? What is the method to your madness? Can you explain that for us?
You're telling me you want me to cover the method to my madness in one podcast?
Well, let's condense it a little bit.
All right. So I'll give you the 5 coaching steps, and I'll
Perfect.
try my best to cover as much as I can in the time we have.
Okay.
All right. So step number 1, as you go into any coaching conversation, it's super important to, what I would say is, check your story at the door. So you have an idea of what's going on in front of you. You have a picture, you have an assumption, and it's very important to suspend all those ideas and all those assumptions as you're stepping into any kind of conversation as a coach, whether you're a leader, a parent, even a sports coach. Don't go in assuming you know what's going on. Don't go in assuming you know the character of the person. Don't go in assuming that you have all the data. You never do. So suspend your story as you walk into the conversation. So that's step number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Step number 2 is get their story. And so be totally open. Say, what's going on? What's happening here? Right? Like, just ask, and ask without, inciting a judgment. In other words, don't go in with an accusation. Go in with curiosity. Go in saying, what's happening, right? Simply, what are you up to? What's going on? Or it looks like you're struggling. What's happening? Can I help? Right? So go in with an assumption of positive intent. Assume that person is wanting to achieve a goal or has pure and good intentions behind their actions. And so ask them what's going on and where they're having trouble, like what's happening. Okay. So number 3 is, when you ask for somebody's story, typically they only give you a small piece of a story.
Right.
Your job is to get more of the story. Usually they just give you a line or 2 or a couple of sentences. Your job is to now dig under the story. And so people say, well, what does digging look like? And I often say, do you remember when you were a teenager and you went to the mall, in your case, or your friend went to the mall and bumped into this guy she had a massive crush on, and then she came back and she called you and you started to ask her all the details. You wanted all the juicy details. You want to know, so was he alone? What was he wearing? Did he ask you out? Are you going to see him again? Did he hold your hand? And on and on and on. You want to know all the juicy details: who, what, where, when, how. Curiosity, but you want the bigger picture. You don't just want that little story. You want the whole story. So that's what it sounds like to dig under the story. I'll give you another example. Yesterday, I was at a presentation, and before I started presenting, everyone in the room did a little bit of a check-in. One woman started to speak, and she mentioned that her parents are a little rough with her, right? They're a little rough with her, and they're not very kind to her at all times. And so I said, first question, well, can you tell me more about that? And she says, yeah, they criticized me. And so that's this much of the story. And then I said, well, can you tell me what that sounds like? What words do they use? Then she gave me a whole lot more color, more detail about what that actually sounded like. And so that's what I'm talking about. Don't be satisfied with just this little story. Get a bigger picture, dig. Don't be satisfied when someone just gives you an inch, take more. Right? Ask for more.
Yeah, because you can't really coach somebody properly if you don't really have all of the details and all of the story.
And I would say to you that one of the greatest setbacks in coaching is that coaches aren't always comfortable digging, aren't always comfortable asking for all the juicy details, feel like the person has told them enough, and then they start coaching from a place of insufficient data or insufficient information. And so, or sometimes coaches get stuck. They're like, I don't know what to do with this. And what that means is that you don't have enough of the story. That means you need to do a little more digging. You need to round out your information and get more.
So that makes sense, because then at that point, if you don't have enough information, you think you do, you're assuming. So you're coaching based on assumptions, which is
Correct.
really
Correct.
not good.
So again, go back. Step 1 is check your story. Step 2 is get their story. Step 3 is dig under the story. Now, step 4 is the whole purpose of getting someone's story is to really identify their beliefs. So what beliefs do they have that's causing them pain, frustration, anger, disconnection, disappointment, whatever it is? What beliefs do they have that are driving behaviors that are leading to outcomes they don't want? Or in some cases, what beliefs do they have that drives behavior that leads to outcomes they do want? So let's uncover beliefs and let's help them see how their beliefs may or may not be causing them success or failure.
So sometimes people are not really aware of all the beliefs that they have, and they just kind of blindly go through life, following a belief maybe that doesn't serve them. They're not really super conscious of it, right?
Yeah, so it's not sometimes, it's most of the time,
most of the time.
So most of the time, and here's the very interesting thing, and I talk to leaders quite a bit about this, the single greatest influence on our outcomes, especially if you're running a company, if you're leading a large organization or a large team, the single greatest outcome on the results, the single greatest impact, influencer on the outcomes that we're generating is our thinking as leaders. So if that's the greatest influence on our results, then it's very important to understand the relationship between our thinking and our results. Unfortunately, most of that is unconscious to us. We can't see, we can't understand. We are not aware of that key relationship because it's all happening sub or even unconsciously. Right? We're not aware of what our beliefs are.
So we just respond mostly to a feeling. Would you say that? And kind of our actions are kind of directed by how we feel?
No, we respond to the events around us and we very, very quickly interpret whether or not those events are good or bad. And if they're bad, we feel bad. If we interpret them as bad, then we feel bad. And so we believe something bad just happened, therefore we feel bad. So it doesn't matter what it is. We can get on the scale and we can go up 2 pounds. Oh, that was a bad event. That makes me feel bad. Or, oh, I was supposed to make a sale and it didn't happen. Oh, I feel bad. That was a bad thing. So we categorize our experiences as good or bad. Really, they're just experiences. They're meaningless. It's the meaning we assign to them that determines how we feel, right? So, so it's our thinking that gets us to the feeling place, right? It's not our feelings that get us to a belief. It's our thinking that gets us to feel something. And when we don't feel good, we believe it's bad.
Right. But a lot of people are not really aware of their thinking. And so they're more aware of how they feel from the thought that they don't realize that they had.
Exactly.
Like the scale went up 2 pounds. They're not thinking of anything out of it. That's just bad. They just feel bad.
Yeah. They see the scale went up 2 pounds. I suck. I'm weak. I'm not disciplined. Why can't I get this? Why do I keep falling off the wagon? And on and on and on. What are they doing? They're beating themselves up. And when they beat themselves up, can they get to where they want to go?
No.
Impossible.
Right.
So step number 4 is uncovering their beliefs.
Okay. And so once you see a belief, sorry to interrupt, once we uncover a belief, say, what do we do with that? When we've uncovered something that we feel like as a coach, maybe is not the best belief for them to have.
So what we want to do is
the goal that they have.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that that's their belief, right? So we might say, hey, is this what you believe to be true? Do you believe that just because you went up 2 pounds that you're not disciplined? Do you believe that you don't have the strength required to get to where you need to go? Do you believe that you're weak? Right? And if the person in front of us says, yes, that's exactly what I believe, say, well, you know what? When you ran that marathon or when you stayed up all night to take care of your child, I don't know, was that weak? Right? So that's what it sounds like to challenge their beliefs. And that's really step number 5. Because if a person thinks they're weak, it's very hard for them to achieve that goal.
Sure.
So what we want to do is kind of like poke holes in the beliefs that don't serve them. Because what we do is often wrap our arms around beliefs that are fundamentally eroding our ability to reach our goals. That's what we do. Oh, there's evidence. I went up 2 pounds. That means I suck.
Right.
And that belief isn't useful.
So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because I think there's another step that we haven't gotten to yet. But when you uncover, we got there. Beliefs was 4. There was 5 steps. No.
So step number 5 is we want to challenge their beliefs.
Challenge them, right? So that's what I was referring to. So if we're going to challenge the belief, and then the client comes back and says, "Yeah, I don't really believe that to be true," then what?
I don't believe what to be true.
Say you uncover a belief and say, do you really believe that, you gain 2 pounds, that means you're a bad person or you're not successful and they say, no, actually, I don't believe that.
Great. So I say, so what do you believe? And so my job as a coach isn't, I don't need to be right. Right. In fact, I'm not attached to that at all. What I need to do is put something on the table so that the person in front of me can say yes or no, and here's what it is instead, right? So my goal is to create an environment where the person in front of me feels free to express what's really going on and to share what they truly believe so that our common understanding is increased, right? So I don't need to be right.
So then we've challenged a belief. We believe that it's no longer true for us. And then, so we get rid of that belief and then we replace that.
What we want to do is we want to trade up. We want to help the client trade up. So what is true? Right? So what is true was there was a big celebration. It was an important celebration for me. It was my 10th anniversary, let's say, and I made a clear, conscious decision to splurge. That doesn't mean I have to splurge forever. I took a bit of a setback, and that's okay. I have the strength and the determination to get back on track. Okay. That's a lot better than I suck and I'm weak.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it just feels better even hearing that difference in thought.
Right. So here's the thing is like, this whole idea of what is true, we invent what is true, right?
Yeah.
And so our truths will influence how we behave and how we feel, right? And so the question is, what truths, what beliefs have you held on to that simply aren't serving you? Right?
Yeah.
And what we want to do is say, okay, like let's identify those, let's put them on the table, and let's examine them to see if they're useful, and let's examine them to see if they're even true.
Right. Right.
Right.
That's awesome. I love the clarity that comes out of the identifying your beliefs and then challenging the beliefs to even see if they're serving you or if you believe them to be true. That's a really great deep first step. 4th step, 5th step. 5th step.
Right. So you want to go over them again one more time? And there's a lot more to this. Like we're just skimming here, right? Like each step has a certain skill set involved. Each step has a certain kind of focus and thing we're looking to accomplish. So, but to skim over it, step number 1 is check your story. Step number 2 is get their story. Step number 3 is dig under their story. Step number 4 is identify their beliefs. And step number 5 is challenge their beliefs.
Amazing.
That's keeping it really simple.
Really simple. And so those are the 5 coaching steps, the foundation of frame of mind coaching that begins the journey.
Right.
Amazing.
And when you are working with someone who is skilled in these 5 steps, what happens is you move at lightning speed. Your progress happens very, very quickly, and your thinking changes very fast. And when that happens, the results you get happen with greater ease and speed.
And would you say that's because, you become really more aware of the role your thinking plays upon your results when you're asked to identify, what do you believe to be true? And I know for me, after I coached, I immediately was hyper aware of my thinking, hyper aware.
Well, here's the thing. It's hard to be aware of your thinking 24/7, right? But you can be aware of how you feel. And when you're feeling bad, anything bad, mad, frustrated, disappointed, pissed off, agitated, that's an indicator that your thinking is pointed away from what you want. So when I work with clients, what I want them to do is start to just monitor their mood. Pay attention to how you feel. Because the way you feel is like your GPS. It's telling you whether or not you're headed in the right direction. And when you're feeling crappy, that means, hold on a minute, I need to turn myself around. I'm headed in the wrong direction. Right?
And when you're feeling crappy, do you want to sit back and go, okay, what was I just thinking about that produced this feeling of crappiness? Do you want to
Yes,
go back
you
to the
can
root?
do that. You can do that. Or you can simply say, what is a thought that will help me feel a little bit better?
Better.
Like, where am I going? What do I want again? What do I really, really want? And
Right.
let me turn myself in that direction. So we don't always have to examine all the bad thoughts.
Right.
That can be helpful if they are repetitive. But sometimes
Okay.
we just need to say enough. Like, I don't want to feel bad anymore. I'm going to deliberately make an effort to think things that help me feel better. Right? And so
Love
the
it.
better you get, the faster it goes, the faster your recovery time. And what we're really trying to do is help people. I mean, everyone is going to experience blows in their life.
Sure.
It's part of life. And what we're trying to do is help people recover with greater speed and agility. What we're really trying to do is help them increase their emotional resilience.
Right.
Right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, we're nearing the end of our podcast. So I want to take the opportunity to invite everyone, to all of our audience members, to visit our website, frameofmindcoaching.com, and sign up for a complimentary coaching call. We would love to talk to you, help you out, give you some feedback. Thanks a lot, Kim, for your time.
You're very welcome. Until we chat again.
Meet again. Thank you.